How's it going? How's it going, everybody? It's your girl. So, I'm gonna try something new. I had a few ideas, and I was up late last night having a good conversation. You can call it a channel if you want to. So I decided, let me actually write some things down and talk about them. A lot of times I have these spiritual inklings, these feelings, insights, and I've been moved to just share them more. So let's see. If you're not into the long form video, I'm gonna tell you right now, we are already on YouTube, so obviously you enjoy that. This is exactly what it's gonna be. We're gonna be chatting it up, okay? So I wanna talk about transformation and transformation through your trauma, and how a lot of times, most of the times, whatever traumatic experience we have occurred, we have experienced, whatever traumatic experience has occurred, excuse me, it is quite literally a portal. It is quite literally a portal. It is your version of an initiation. It's your initiation process, if you will. So if you had to experience what you and plenty others would probably consider unfortunate events, a part of alchemy is quite literally transmuting and transforming that perspective, and whatever happened, let that trauma, let that event give you insight. It's really not that complicated, but it's not that complex of an idea, really. I'm imagining the person that's finding this video already has some sense of reworking the mind, reworking your perspective, right? So me saying whatever crazy event you went through, you have the will, you have the free power in your mind and in your imagination to transform what happened, realize whatever event, whatever it was, how traumatic it was, how horrible it was. Hone in on how it changed your mind and how it changed your perspective, and how it probably gave you a bird's eye view on things that could be similar. So just how a person tells their testimony, shares their testimony of what they went through. They could, of course, only have that testimony because they went through it firsthand. Now, the point here is realizing that it was an initiation. So, for example, when and I hope my sincerity really is conveyed through the camera, but I don't think it's a dark sense of humor. I just have a sense of humor. And that's part of the process. That's part of the initiation. That's part of it all. So I am being serious. I don't want to discredit anybody's hardships or things that they've been through, but I do speak about things a little lighter at this point. But when my brother passed, that quite literally was a transformation like no other. I like to say that that was my death initiation. So there's so many initiations that happen. Now, of course, I'm only going to speak through a woman's perspective because that's all I know. But many of people have passed to the before my brother passed. But this one, the experience with my brother turned and rewired my brain so drastically that I could no longer view the world in a superficial way. I have always, as a child, been a little like different and out there. Most of us that are on this path are natural born seers, natural born, just very in tune with the earth, right? But a lot of times it takes a little something out of the ordinary to happen for our brains to really kick into gear and our true selves to be like unlocked. So the initiation process that happened with my brother set me on this path, and it's been about 8 years now since his passing. So it's quite recent, but not so much, you know. The opening in recognizing signs and symbols shifted. It was quite literally like I jumped into a new world after my brother passed, because there was a strong knowing that he was going to pass. I lived in a different state. I had a strong pull to come home. The minute I come home, 1, 2, 3 people pass. We all know what happens in threes, right? But I come from a family, and even since then, it wouldn't be my immediate family. I didn't have the opportunity to experience firsthand death. It would be a friend of a friend or a friend of the family, but not direct and not that close. So my brother passing, it being my blood brother, opened up a path, opened up quite literally all of my spiritual gifts. If I thought I was going to ignore anything, not after that. Not after that. So, for example, let me tell you, at that time, I used to walk a lot. I still walk a lot, but then I think I was going through car troubles or whatever, and I live in a walkable city, so walking was just normal. But I used to walk outside, and the days, I just remember the days feeling like crisp but gloomy and foggy air. The season, it just felt like I was so present. Nothing else was going on, but I was damn near in a state of shock. And of course, you can listen and say like you were definitely going through a grieving process. Yeah, of course. But when I tell you, everything started to open up for me. I started to pay attention to nature in a different type of way. I started to realize, are the birds, do they got something to say? To the point where you could think this is a spiritual psychosis. But I have a lot of grounding. I get a little far up there, but there's still, I like to ground myself in science and logic and understanding what's really going on and what I'm perceiving. So signs and symbols popping out. Messages are coming out rapidly. I'm finding things on the ground that are specifically to me, messages to me, and it was like I'm really getting communication from. At that time, I couldn't place it to God, the universe. It was just like, I know there's a higher being, there's a higher communication, there's something telling me this and that. My manifestations were happening like record speed. I would sit outside and I remember this time, all in the same season. I'm still going through the shock of my brother passing, but it wasn't shock. So I'm forgetting also that initiation. This entire thing was opening me up to understanding death, understanding what life really is like, what it is and what it's not, the spiritual realm, your subconscious mind communicating to you. All of this was happening, but I didn't have those words. So that's what made it like, are we going a little crazy? But I knew it wasn't crazy because they were always feelings and small experiences that I would have as a kid, but it just wasn't so grand. It would happen here or there. I would think about wanting $100 and then be in the 6th grade and there goes a $100 bill right there on the concrete, right in front of my path. Not in the bushes, not in the gutter, on the end of the curb, smack on the curb. So I would have situations like that happen, astral traveling as a kid. But after my brother passed, it was like the curtain is lifted, the veil is lifted. You are now in this world. You're not teetering back and forth. You feel me? So this is what I mean. For me, in the thick of it, when he passed, when I viewed his body, I saw a person who was free. And it was the most peaceful experience that I think I have thus far experienced. Even up to the birth of my child, viewing my brother's body and the look on his face, and mind you, I'm totally forgetting that I had a sister pass. That's sad. But it wasn't like this. My brother also, we were a lot closer. We spent childhood together. My sister, not so much. So we didn't have the same type of pull and connection. But also when I viewed her body, there was nothing. It wasn't the same type of experience with my brother. With my brother, I saw someone who was free. And I felt this feeling come over me of relief. Like, he is quite literally free now. And it gave me insight on what happens to you when you leave here. So after that, I'm fully engulfed in. I was reading like the Necronomicon. I was reading all these things before about death, but when you go through that physical experience, that death initiation is like no other. And being a woman, you start to have such clear psychic communication, understanding what mediumship is. That happened immediately after my brother's death. It was a time. It sounds crazy, but it was a time. Because hindsight, looking back, I'm like, girl, you was really in school. You were really learning so much that was going to be so insightful and so useful later on. So you can see it as tragedy, or you can see it as a superpower being unlocked. I hate to compare a scenario of someone being taken advantage of, but I feel like I need to speak on that. You can have the most horrendous things happen to you, but if you can remember the pain, if you can remember what it felt like to feel like you were being overpowered, if you can really hone in on those feelings, you can conjure up the same feeling and use it for your benefit. And what I mean is, for an exact example, during the time of my brother's death, I think I was going through such a state of shock that I actually didn't feel. I was pretty numb. You know, some people have such clear, maybe not clear, but people go through something that is so traumatic that they're shocked. Their system is literally in shock, that they can't describe or put a feeling. They're not sad, they're not crying and screaming, they're not outwardly emoting. They're damn near doing nothing. But you are feeling something, and that feeling is so powerful. The only explanation I can think of is when I experience something be so fucking funny, it's so funny, I can't laugh. Because it's like, it's too much, it's too grand. So if you can imagine stillness, there is still something happening. There is still energy there, but it's so grand beyond your comprehension that it's like, takes your breath away. It's a stillness. That is still an energy. So because I know what that, I've experienced it, I know what that feels like, it's nothing for me to think about it again and kind of invoke that same type of energy and say you're trying to manifest something, you're trying to shift your own energy, you're having an experience and it's not going in your favor, and maybe you're just having a bad fucking day. You can literally sit with yourself and think about how you felt then, use that same energy, but apply it to something more positive. You want to bring more money into your life. You want to bring yourself into a more grounded experience. Use what you experience, that feeling, pull that feeling into the present, but instead of crying profusely or having the shock feeling, you just imagine it, internalize it, and use your train of thought to think about what it is that you're actually wanting. So no longer does that traumatic experience bring you pain. You use it as fuel now. You use it, and you now, if you're good with pattern recognition, which I'm imagining if you're watching this, you probably are, that you know how to clock it now. If somebody was taking advantage of you, you know how to clock that behavior. You no longer can go and find yourself in that same scenario because you know exactly the energy of it, specifically the energy of it. If you could ever come across, say it was a man that took advantage of you and he was charming, he had charisma, you felt safe with him, but the energy would be the same if the scenario was going to occur again. So people have triggers all the time, and you're not triggered for no reason. You're triggered because your body naturally is picking up on the pattern. It's picking up on the message. That's why people can trigger other people on purpose, because they know, oh, I know this person was forcefully drowned as a child, and their head was pushed underwater. Sorry if that was too much. So if somebody just knows that about you, they can simply reenact the scenario and even think about the energy, think about doing that to you. And that energy in itself can trigger you. So I say that to say, you now know how to call on, how to identify that energy, right? I hope I'm making sense. But this is why it's your initiation, because you were before that experience, you were naive. You had no idea. You were thinking one way. Your perspective wasn't there. So you are forever changed thereafter. You have a different energy about you because of that situation. The idea is to think about it in a positive light, so you embody that trauma and you take control of it and you overpower it instead of it overcoming you. We all know people, we see them outside on the street to this day. Right now, outside my shop, there are people I can visibly see. Whatever they went through, it's overtaking them. It's conquering them. They are losing the battle. That higher version of themselves is getting suppressed and suppressed and suppressed because they're probably ruminating on the pain. Day in, day out. Day in, day out. And then you find yourself in depression. But the key is, quite literally, take that pain and remember it. Don't forget. You don't want to forget it. You want to use it as a tool. You know? And that's when the little delusional part really comes in, because you're gonna have to sit with yourself. You're gonna have to be by yourself and really think. And that's where humor comes in for me. Literally how I'm going off. You're gonna have to use your imagination and think, if that scenario played out again, how you are now the dominant force. You're not matching the sinister, the conniving version of that person. But you're essentially honing in on the patterns. And don't even try to overthink it. It's a feeling. You don't want to ruminate on the details. Oh, they choked me. No. Your body is picking up on the energy. So before somebody gotta put their hands on you, that's like flinching before it happens, because your body is responding. So you're paying attention to those type of cues. Watch a movie about a goddamn female superhero and how she now has this slickness about her because she can clock all of the movements. She can pick up on the smallest of cues to know what's going to happen. When you watch a cat, they're quick to jump and still land on their feet. They're able to move in a swift manner and respond to the smallest of things, but they're not jumping around like a crackhead, like a squirrel that looks like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, rather than, I see that over there, I see that over there, I think that over there, and you're moving with, does that make sense? You're paying attention to your environment differently. And you can only have gone through that, again, if you went through this initiation. So I hope that kind of gives someone more power, no matter what it is that you have gone through. And again, for me, that transformation really happened when my brother passed. I was able to see death differently. Some people can't their system still can't grasp the bigger picture of what's happening. You see someone die, you see someone pass right in front of you, or you have to view a body. It can happen time and time again in someone's life, and they still are overtaken by the situation instead of stepping back, assessing what's really going on, and realizing this is really a part of life. This is part of life. This is something that we all go through, but there's a bigger picture. So it doesn't hurt your heart like it did before. And again, it takes time. It takes time. My main point really just is remembering that you can take and maintain your power through all of your hardships. Doesn't matter what it is. Financial loss, you gotta go through it to have that experience, and that is your initiation. It's just like any group, they're gonna haze your ass, so you know what to expect. You can't be caught off guard. You're not a dummy out here moving like Mrs. Green. So many groups do this same process. They put you damn near this close to breaking, just so you can physically have your body remember. And of course, this might not be their thought process, but look at it this way. They're putting you in harm's way, so your body has that information. Your mind has that information. You're gonna be able to assess what's going on differently because your ass was hazed. It's not great. There's different ways you can do this. You don't actually have to put your hands on nobody, but I bet you gonna remember. You're not gonna forget it. So we all know this. Unfortunately, this is adulthood. This is earthhood. This is part of being an earthling. You gotta go through some said suffering to then have a rebirth, time and time and time again. So yes, let's see what else. And again, same thing with women in childbirth. The initiation process, and I will make a whole separate video on the initiation that women go through. Not every woman, I'm realizing, goes through their dark feminine initiation through childbirth. It could have been something else that happened that triggers that dark feminine rebirth. But I have to say, I'm surprised when childbirth doesn't initiate a rebirth, because you are quite literally on the thin line. You are skating on the line of this realm and the other side of the not living. You are right there. You are pulling in an energy from far beyond, on a whole nother planet, on a whole nother place. You have to your consciousness can't really be fully here for that process to happen, let alone having a natural birth. I had a natural birth, so I was there. I was skating. Okay? So, maybe women who have whatever heavy medication, epidurals, that don't allow them to be fully present with the pain and then having to push the pain somewhere else and focus, it's a interesting paradox that labor will require your mind to focus, but you're focusing so much that you drift into alpha state, probably theta. You're gone. You're not here, but you're present. But you're having an outer body experience. You are not on earth, but you are aware that you still are attached to earth because you're pushing out a baby and you're thinking about the health of you and the baby subconsciously. You're probably not thinking about it all at the same time. But you're also not honing into the pain so much that you're like only focused on the pain. There's a lot going on. It's such an experience. It is such a literal rebirth for you and the child. You are pulling in the energy. It's just amazing. So when I think about, again, your traumas, your hardships, your extreme scenarios, whatever you want to call them, those are your initiations. And after that, I was forever changed. I had the experience with my brother, but childbirth, pregnancy in itself, psychic abilities, 10,000. Mediumship, 10,000. Wow. I'm picking up on every little thing. And so many women can attest to this same experience, that your senses are heightened. And you will forever remember how heightened your senses were during your pregnancy and during childbirth and thereafter. So if there's ever comes a time where you feel like you're uncertain or you have some self-doubt, all you have to do is recall what it felt like to have extreme abilities, to have the extreme powers, to have that strong a psychic ability, because you haven't forgotten it. Just because you had the baby, just because you carried the baby, that's another thing too. You might have had, unfortunately, gone through your pregnancy and didn't deliver. Maybe you had to deliver your baby, but the baby didn't make it, is what I'm saying. This doesn't exclude you. You still went through an experience, and you still went through an initiation that is like no other, because your senses are heightened and they're forever changed. And all you have to do is recall on that experience, but at the same time, if it was hard, if there was some other elements that weren't going your way, don't focus on that part. Focus on the part where you feel empowered, and then you just bring it to the present. So it's clear to me that I am helping with the reawakening. I think we have a few more ladies that we need to gather up, and we need to round up, and we need to shake awake. Okay, there's still some sleeping ladies, some ladies who are sleeping beauties, taking a little nap. Go ahead and wake up. This is our time. The mothers are here, and we are reshaping and reconfiguring the planet. I'm trying to decide, do I keep this video going, or should I break it up into two? And I think I'm just gonna keep it going. I think I'm gonna keep it going. And I'm hoping that my AC hasn't been so loud this entire time. I'm thinking I should turn it off. Okay. It was really just to get some juice. So yeah, I had all of this come to me last night, but this has been an ongoing conversation for years, and it really does seem like the mission at hand is to wake up as many more ladies as there needs to be shifted and woke up. So if you're here, I'm glad you're here. If you are confused about some things, go ahead and leave a comment. We have so much more to talk about. But I want to remind you all of your powers. I want to remind you all of your abilities and how so many things have been going on in your life since you were a small little girl, and those things are going to fuel you until your last days on this planet. This smells so fresh that I was questioning it. It's like they probably juiced some of the skin. Okay. What else do we need to say? We don't want that. Sorry. Stay with me. Let's get back into the channel. Let's back up here. So I want to say, yeah, do you remember a time when you were a small child where you just, we all of us, man and woman, have psychic ability. We all know this. But do you remember feeling so passionate about something as a kid? I remember having this the Lola Bunny stuffed animal, or I guess it was a Lola Bunny. Yeah, it was Lola Bunny stuffed animal. And I remember thinking, I loved Lola Bunny. She was just a bad bitch. She just was out there with all the boys playing basketball, and she was cute. They couldn't have her, but she was around. She didn't give a fuck about nobody besides herself and playing basketball. I loved Lola Bunny. And when somebody, I don't know who gave me the stuffed animal, but I used to walk around with it all the time. Like, Lola Bunny was my whole thing. I just loved it. Sorry, I'm going off into the memory. I loved my Lola Bunny. But I remember at that time, I used to go to church with my nana. And I remember them talking about how Jesus Christ was a jealous God. And he did not like for you to worship no other God, pay attention to no other thing than him. He was a jealous God. Mind you, this is my, 4 or 5-year-old mind that's going to church and listening and hearing this. And I remember thinking, I love my Lola Bunny. I love my Lola Bunny. Jesus is not gonna allow me to have my Lola Bunny because I don't give a fuck. I don't know Jesus Christ. No disrespect. Okay? Everybody has their saviors. Okay? But at 4 or 5, that was not my savior. And I knew at that point that he was probably going to take my little bunny. And I felt it. I remember feeling that so strongly. And it might have just been an idea, but I felt it. The next day, I don't know if it was the next day or the same day, Lola Bunny gone. No longer to see her ever again. I remember searching high and low. And I remember thinking, Jesus took my fucking Lola Bunny. And I remember telling my Nana, I told my Nana, I loved my Lola Bunny so much. And Jesus would not allow me to love something more than him. And it would take it away. And she thought that was the funniest thing. And I'm sure however I said it as a 4-year-old was probably funny as hell. But the power is in the mind. So I'm bringing it up so you can remember all of the times. You can go down a wormhole of logically thinking whatever you want to. Oh, somebody threw it away. Oh, this could have happened. We don't fucking know. And that's the point. So we want to lock in and you want to stay on the side of the magic, because that's going to help you create everything else. So if you start to rack your mind too much with the this and the that and the logic and how it needed to make sense, oh, your mom probably just threw it away. No, I asked everybody. Nobody said they touched my Lola Bunny. And if we just want to go down the whole story, I was an only child at the time, so I didn't have a shitload of toys like my daughter does, where it's like, no, you need to throw away some things. Yeah, we cleaned house, but that Lola Bunny was my right hand partner. If somebody threw that away, that was just evil, because I would just, you know how a kid has their blanket. Lola Bunny was my girl. Don't believe anybody threw it away, and you be knowing. So the whole point is stay on the side of what you know. So yeah, my whole point of bringing that up is I had a strong feeling that I was guilty of something and it was going to be taken away. That feeling was the cause to the effect of my Lola Bunny being gone forever. Okay? Simple thing, but that emotion powered it. I was just a small child, didn't know what I was doing, didn't know that I was creating the scenario or reliving and remembering the scenario, because there's also that. We'll get into that. Are you creating it or are you living it over? Either way, there's a strong knowing that you have to identify. And once you play with that knowing, you get to do it again and 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 again. Okay. So even still, when you came across a family member and you're like, it's something about that motherfucker you gotta stay away from. You could have, at that time, at that age, never been through anything that would initiate you to have that understanding. But there's a knowing, because you're starting to pick up on other people and you're picking up on their energy and you're tapping into the channel that connects us all. So now we're getting into mediumship and we're getting into channeling, and I've got the stories where when shit happens now in my life, I'm like, what lesson is this? So I'm in school again. I'm learning again. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. But again, so you just think back as a kid when you just knew shit. You knew. You didn't have an explanation. Adults probably came to you and asked you, is your uncle, did your uncle do, did your auntie? And some people get so good that people are really actually asking you detailed questions about what's to come because they know you got the gift. But there's a lot of times in Black families where we like to act like that shit don't happen, but we still utilize the kids and we still ask them. But you don't believe it. You won't admit it. So this is really for my people there, where you knew as a kid, you had a strong knowing about some things. You didn't know how you knew it. You might have suppressed it. Now, in your adulthood, you need to go back to the feeling, go back to the details, so you can start utilizing your powers at will. Okay? Because you're gonna need it. Surviving out here, we're no longer in the days where you're able to survive off of logic alone. Those days are over. The 2000s initiated us into the era of the mind. Everyone wants to say now we're in the Aquarius age, the Aquarian age. I don't know. I think we've been there. It is now what you know by a strong feeling of knowing yourself. So again, remember the times that you knew some shit, but you didn't have no evidence. You had a strong feeling about a thing, about a scenario, and it came to pass. You need to relive those scenarios and use them to fuel what it is that you need to know now or experience now, whatever questions you have. Say you want to know when you're going to get this next check because they've been playing around with you. Sit with yourself. Do whatever you need to do to relax you. If you partake in substances, maybe try not. See how it feels to fully be sober. Because you wasn't on that shit as a kid. Hopefully. So you want to just kind of relive and recreate that state of being. So try to get down to your purest self, but do whatever you need to do to make yourself relax. So if that's laying out in the sun, if that's sitting in the grass, if that's sitting by some bark chips, I don't know, some bark dust, because when you was a kid, you used to sit at the playground. Whatever will help you get those messages again, right? Is the point. The technical side is that you're putting yourself in alpha state, so your subconscious mind is free and clear to send you messages. Your conscious mind is moved out the fucking way. All that background talk and chatter isn't so loud. And you're able to hear a message. So you're asking, when am I going to get this check? This job been playing around with me. They said it's going to come on this day, it ain't came. Ask yourself the question, sit there in peace, and let the first answer rip. And don't negotiate back and forth with it. Just listen to yourself. Once you do that so many times, now you've realized, oh, psychic abilities on lock, because you're just reliving what's already programmed in the body. Again, anybody that does a reading, anybody that does mediumship, anybody who does anything that we're trying to read a person, we can all say whatever the divination tool, and I'm veering off a little, but it all goes together. We all can say we don't know if it was the past, the present, or the future, because it's all one. Because your subconscious mind is picking up and pulling, and you can imagine it to just be a womb, a web of information and channels and signals and electrical currents of all of these things going on that you've picked up from eons of just living. Okay? So when you are recalling back this information, it is a recall. Total recall. Okay? So that's why you have clairaudience, clairvoyance. It's a clear knowing, but the information has to come from somewhere. You're just pulling from a database. Okay? Okay? So, I think we might be good here. I think I might make another video, and hopefully some ladies are so interested in getting back to themselves, getting back to a version of themselves where they have the power, they remember their power. We're going to talk about it some more. So even if you're confused, we're still going to talk about it. And that's it. That's all. See y'all later.